I'm ready for Monday Night Football.
I'll quickly say mine was a Razor scooter.
Mine was also a Razor scooter.
Let's go! All right.
God.
For those listening, it is Alfonso, also known as Carlton Banks.
Falcons fans, what's up, and welcome back to the Friday Five. Merry Christmas. It is the day afterwards. I am joined by Tori McElhaney and Terrin Waack. We are here to break down a huge, important matchup on Monday night against the Los Angeles Rams. A lot to dig into this one. It's going to be a really fun game. I'm excited to do all of this with you, but figure, as we usually do, we're going to start with our question of the day. Make sure you are following at Atlanta Falcons on TikTok for all of the question of the days that we have had throughout the season and will ever have for the rest of that feed's life. But given that it is post-Christmas, Tori, you want to?
Surely will. What was your favorite Christmas gift you ever got as a kid?
Mine deserves an explanation, so someone else go first.
Okay. I'll quickly say mine was a Razor scooter.
Mine was also a Razor scooter.
Let's go! All right.
My gosh.
Beat that, Terrin.
Yeah. Mine was Scooby-Doo. Like, it was a Scooby-Doo Razor scooter.
A Scooby-Doo themed Razor scooter.
Yes,
okay.
But it was the Razor scooter, and it had Scooby-Doo on the bottom of it, and the wheels were green.
Okay.
Like the Mystery Machine.
Yeah, I think mine were red.
Okay.
I think it just said Razor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted a scooter so badly.
Could you do the little kick spin thing?
Well, I tried, but I basically took out. I'm pretty sure I still have scars on my ankle.
If those things hit your ankles, it was worse than stepping on a Lego.
You were done.
Yeah.
So that was mine. I can't believe we had the same one. That's
Let's
crazy.
go. Yeah,
I love that.
nice.
Yeah, wow. Now
Beat
I'm
that.
going to sound so sad and pathetic.
Oh, God.
Well, you also just brought up trauma I had buried.
Oh.
I never had a real Razor
That's
scooter.
what this podcast is all about.
I had a
We're
knockoff
trauma
one.
bonded.
Uncovering buried trauma.
I had a knockoff
Mine also may
razor.
have been a knockoff.
It was not
was it a
nearly as
razor?
smooth.
Yeah.
I remember.
It's-
Mine was a solid one.
No.
I had that bad boy for years.
I would borrow friends because mine was pathetic and bumpy. But I also add to the sadness.
Getting you shocked.
I can't remember any presents as a kid. I definitely had some. I wasn't unloved. We traveled a lot, 'cause
Right.
we lived away from family, so
Yeah.
Christmas mornings were never really at home.
Yeah.
So that was different. Also led to why I believed in. You know what? We're gonna continue on and.
Thanks for not ruining.
Yeah.
As you're wearing a bah humbug hat, let's not actually be Scrooge today.
So I'm gonna say my mom has developed this recent trend in recent years where she picks something random she sees whether it's on Amazon, Facebook. She's not on TikTok, but just the internet. And this year she got me this boomerang levitating ball, and I turned it on, and that stuff flew across the room.
Did it break
and
anything?
No, but it came close, and the dog chased after it, and we're like, no. But it was floating and moving all on its own. It was actually really
I
crazy.
need you to explain more about how this thing works very quickly because we got to
fan.
move on. It's
It's a fan. Okay.
But it still goes
sideways.
So it's kind of like one of those
different ways.
ferret balls, but in the air.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking
the
about?
ferret
That have
balls
the
at
tail.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Basically, you turn it on and
it just goes in the box.
It looks like Bijan in the backfield.
Yep.
Yeah, it was chaotic.
All right. Well, that honestly went pretty well.
Yeah.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
The Friday
Christmas.
Five keeps on giving. Well, the Falcons are going to be, I think, giving it their best one last time here. Well,
Second to last time.
second to last time, but it's
yeah.
kind of like the best matchup that they have left is what I was going for.
And this is, Will, a matchup that you have been talking about being one of your favorites since we got the schedule.
Oh,
I think I
yeah.
remember
It
you
was.
saying on an early podcast.
I really thought that this was
Pull the
there was
receipts.
going to be a lot maybe more implications for the season.
I
on
think
this
there
one.
should have been.
There
right?
should have been, right? Yeah, that's.
I understood your thought process with it. Yeah.
But it is still going to be, I think, a really, really good indicator of where the Falcons are as they head into, yet again, kind of another important offseason. The Rams, of course, 11-4, vying for really playoff seeding. Do they still have a chance at winning the NFC West and getting the 1 seed?
I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so they've got a ton at stake in this game, and obviously, they are a Super Bowl contender. And so when you look at some of the individual players in this matchup, there are a lot of similarities that you can draw with the Los Angeles Rams, but ultimately the team's fortunes have not been identical. So for that reason and many more that we're about to get into, I think that this weekend is going to be a fun game.
Yes.
For Falcons fans to pay attention to. And that really starts with number 7 in the backfield, right? Like any week that you get to watch Bijan Robinson, it's going to be a good week. And he got to celebrate what has been an amazing season with a spot in the Pro Bowl earlier this week.
Well deserved.
On Tuesday. Yeah, it definitely seemed like it was going to be a huge snub if he didn't get in. And so I'm glad that he was ultimately rewarded for his success. Terrin, you wrote about like him shining in kind of an otherwise down year for the team overall. And I think that this is a great indicator of that. He was not alone. Chris Lindstrom made it for the 4th straight year.
Yep.
So that's awesome to see, an offensive lineman and a running back going together.
If you haven't seen the video of Chris calling Bijan to let him know that he was going with him to the Pro Bowl, like, you need to do that because it was very
sweet.
It's very sweet, very cute video.
It really was. And 2 other Falcons, Kyle Pitts, AJ Terrell, are alternates. Really excited for AJ Terrell, honestly, to be an alternate because I think he's had an under-the-radar good season.
Yeah.
They're going to need him again on Monday night.
Big time.
But they're going to need Bijan, I think, first and foremost. He leads the NFL in scrimmage yards 2026. And very importantly, he has 2 games left to break William Andrews' all-time Falcons scrimmage yards record, which is 2,176. So he's 150 scrimmage yards shy of tying that, 151 short of breaking it. And that 150 number, I want everybody to keep in their minds for Monday night's game. And Terrin, tell us why.
Okay, so if 150 is the magic number, Bijan Robinson has had 6 games in which he totaled at least 150 yards from scrimmage. That's 2/5 of the season, to be exact. But for simplicity's sake, we'll go with half. The Falcons are 5-1 in those 6 games, though. In the 9 games, Bijan Robinson did not reach 150 yards from scrimmage. The Falcons are 1-8. Just let that sink in.
Yeah.
Like, there are 2 big things there. But Robinson is averaging 135 yards from scrimmage per game. So even if 150 is too high of a number, the Falcons are 0-5 in games where Robinson didn't break 100 yards from scrimmage.
I think that's a key point right there.
Yeah.
So
Robinson, run, run, and catch.
What's crazy though is like teams are obviously aware of that stuff, right? Like, and each week you would think that you go in and say, hey, Bijan Robinson, if you're a defense coordinator, like that's our number 1 guy that we are looking at. That's the number 1 player we need to stop. And yet he still keeps doing this anyway, right? So Terrin, what about the Rams defense? How do they stack up, and are they going to be able to slow Bijan down?
It's going to be difficult for Bijan to do Bijan things against the Rams. Only 1 player this entire season has totaled at least 150 yards from scrimmage against the Rams.
Wow.
1.
Who was it?
It was wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
And his Lions still lost to the Rams in that game. His was all receiving. He had 164 yards. So Bijan gets a little bit wiggle room with being able to run and receive. But in total, to go back to kind of that 100-yard mark, there have been 10 players to break 100 yards from scrimmage against the Rams. 4 were running backs. I was getting ahead to the Rams and running.
Only 4 is a very small number.
Yeah, the other 6 were receivers.
Yeah.
And here's an even crazier stat. The Rams are allowing only, let me try again. I can't even read my own stuff. The Rams are only allowing skilled players to average 42.3 yards from scrimmage per game. I didn't include quarterbacks in that, just running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. But even without the tight ends and just going receivers and running backs, that average goes up to just 46.4 yards from scrimmage.
Not a lot.
That's a third of Bijan's average.
Right.
So it'll be curious to see, and I think a big key of the game, if Bijan can do what he has been doing against this defense.
Something that, to bounce off of what you're saying about like their numbers and stuff, I found something else that I think backs this up, and it's that kind of over a very key midseason stretch for the Rams, where they did win a good number of games against some pretty elite talent. They held backs like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and Travis Etienne to about 3.5 to 3.9 yards per carry, which for those guys, we have seen them tear up defenses for years for some of them. For Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor has started this season off at the highest level I think any running back had. So this is a defense that I think has vastly improved its run defense, specifically from last year to this year. And I know, Will, you dropped a stat into kind of my section on this, and I do want to read it because I think it does coincide with what we're talking about here. The Rams defense has significantly improved against the run in 2025, allowing just 38.3% rushing success, which is the sixth lowest, compared to 44.7% last season.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big chunk, but it's not just the run defense. I think that in totality, this defense as a whole, while we're talking about it in the context of Bijan Robinson, this is actually a well-rounded defense from their front to their back end. I know everybody talks about the Rams offense, and we'll get into it. They should be talking about the Rams offense, but a major part of this team's overall success is this defense, particularly in the lack of points scored against this Rams defense. They're only allowing 19.9 points per game, which is the sixth best in the NFL, and their defense ranks second in the NFL in red zone defensive success. It's really difficult for teams when they get inside the 20 to score on this defense, which I think is something that we talked about early on in the season with the Falcons, that, okay, they're getting to the red zone but not scoring. Well, that has not been the case over the last month and a half of the seaine. They've gotten into the red zone and they scored. They put the ball in the end zone. So I'm curious.
7 consecutive red zone.
Yeah, that was in
appearances.
Facts on Tap.
Yeah. So that they've seen valuable improvement in that way, but they're now about to go up against a defense that is going to challenge that improvement.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, the situational football is going to be huge. Starting with Bijan and getting the run game going is going to be huge. But, again, the defense for Los Angeles is so well-rounded. Even their pass rush. Like, there's really no good answer, I feel like, for Atlanta's offense.
Yep.
Every single avenue that they're going to want to pursue, they're going to be met with a tough challenge. You look at, like, we've talked all year about Atlanta's pass rush, and deservedly so, because it is better than LA's statistically, which is great. Let's keep plugging that stat as much as we can.
Haven't been able to talk about that for a Falcons
I love
defense
it. Merry
in a long
Christmas
time.
to us.
Yeah.
But the Rams are still 6th in the league with 41 sacks on the season, led by Byron Young, who has 11. And, you know, when you look at Atlanta's passing game, they have been pretty well equipped to get the ball out quickly. Obviously, Bijan has a huge hand in that. Kyle Pitts, his emergence has been big. And so that's going to be important against a pass rush. But the Falcons have also given up 32 quick pressures since week 12 when Kirk Cousins took over, which is most in the NFL. Now, they've also been blitzed at the highest rate in the league. So teams are clearly kind of like seeing something. Maybe it's without Drake, kind of having that like
probably.
catch ball contested, let's get pressure in and see if anybody else can win. The Rams don't blitz as much because they've got a really good front four. But this is going to be, I think, a game where you want to get the ball out of Kirk's hands and get it into the hands of those playmakers. Drake London, we're going to talk a lot about, you know, kind of Puka-Nacua, I think, in the lead up and just the excellence that the Rams have had with their star receiver. But Drake London, before he went out with injury, was right up there with Puka. And Tori, I think he's going to need to be right back up there with Puka in this game.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the Drake London we saw in Arizona was a Drake London that looked like he had been off the field for a month. And I think he would say that. I think even Raheem Morris said that it was like a knock the rust off game for him, which I think that makes total sense. He hasn't, not only has he not played, he hasn't practiced in 4 weeks recovering from that strained PCL. He didn't actually return to the practice field until the week of the Arizona game. So that's a lot of time off the grass. It's a lot of time trying to get yourself back up to game speed. So I think it makes sense. I have empathy that he wasn't the Drake London we saw pre-injury. Like, I think that's incredibly fair. Only had 3 receptions on 8 targets for 27 yards, not at all kind of what he had been pre-injury. However, I'd say that not to point out that, like, I'm concerned about that lack of production in Arizona. I say it more of, like, in an understanding type of way. And my thought process is that, okay, I'm not concerned about Drake because if you were going to have a get-back game, if you were going to have a knock-the-rust-off type of game, getting back to game speed, you would rather that come against Arizona than this Rams team. Because, to your point, you're going to need all of your guys. You're going to need the best out of all of your guys. And that absolutely 100% includes Drake London. So while we didn't see the Drake London we had seen, honestly, should have been a Pro Bowler if he doesn't get hurt at that point in time
sure.
and wasn't on the field during Pro Bowl voting at all. Like, I think if he's on the field and he's doing what we'd known him to do, like potentially we're talking about the Falcons having 3 Pro Bowlers in there. But that's neither here nor there. There's always next year. But I do think that, like, you're going to need that level of Drake London performance against this Rams team.
Yeah, and even today, Raheem Morris today as in Wednesday.
Yeah. Christmas Eve.
Who knows? But today as in Wednesday, Raheem Morris was saying that Drake London just needs to find his rhythm again. It's really difficult to get back into that rhythm, as you said, like being off the field for a month. But somebody who has kind of gained his rhythm during that time period is Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
He had 57 receiving yards in the Falcons' win against the Cardinals, which put him at 395 yards receiving in the last 4 games, which is the most in a 4-game stretch by a Falcons tight end ever. Mm-hmm. Hello, rhythm. Smooth jazz.
Smooth jazz.
Pitts has been, like, really good in London's absence. And, like, even Raheem Morris, when London was out, called Pitts, like, the number 1 wideout, like, which we've been seeing in London's absence. And so only, 2 weeks ago, he had a career-high 166 yards against the Buccaneers to help the Falcons win.
The first time
like,
that a tight end had ever had over 10 catches, 150 yards, and 3 touchdowns since Shannon Sharp did it in 1996. I was looking at that stat literally today.
Just giving a moment for that to hit. But basically, Kyle Pitts is on a roll, and I don't see this roll necessarily stopping regardless if London comes back to full form, because you go to the hot hands. And I think Kyle wants to continue that. He won't talk about his contract, which is understandable. He wants to be in the moment, finish out this season, but it is a contract year. So putting these performances together right now with immediacy bias and things like that is only good for him.
Yeah, I do think that this offense, especially with Kirk at the helm, we've seen them at their best when they're spreading the ball around. When you're getting, like, think last year when it was Drake and Darnell and Kyle and Bijan and Tyler, like everybody touching the ball really makes it run. And so if anybody, it was kind of David Sills. I know it's a 1-game sample size, but his targets really, I think, took the biggest hit, understandably so. So if Kirk is able to kind of strike that right balance of Drake, Kyle, Bijan, everybody that I just named, I think that is what really best suits Atlanta's offense. On the other side, though, there's no real secret where Matthew Stafford wants to go with the ball. It is kind of like the way that Seattle was when we played them a couple weeks ago, where it was like so Jackson Smith and Jigba heavy for Sam Darnold. Really, Matt Stafford has been Puka Nacua dominant, and the best quarterbacks usually have their go-to guys, right? Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. Matthew Stafford has had a couple of them, but Puka might be one of the best. And how has he, almost like when you get an old dog and new puppy, right? It kind of brings the old dog back to life a little bit. I feel like Puka has perked up Matthew Stafford.
Oh,
right,
that's
Tori?
a good one.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, no, I'll kind of talk about Matthew Stafford for a little bit. I mean, it was really interesting because I was thinking back to going into this season, this 2025 year, and I remember during training camp, like watching, the morning shows and everything like that, a hot debate at the time was, is this Matthew Stafford's last year? Is retirement on the horizon? Because he's 38 years old. I think there were a couple articles that I read from CBS Sports, SI, kind of saying, this is his last year. There's no reason this shouldn't be his last year, considering everything that he's gone through, the injuries, the back issue that had him sleeping in a hyperbolic chamber and sleeping on a weird table. There were a lot of things that I think he even had to do to get to 2025.
Yeah.
So I understood the questions. But the counter to that, and I think the Matthew Stafford counter to that, is that he may be 38 years old, but he's playing as good, if not better, than we have ever seen him play. He's been the talk of kind of this MVP conversation for much of the last month and a half. He became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 4 touchdown passes in 3 straight games without an interception. He's on pace to finish the 2025 season with over 40 touchdown passes, which is leading the league. I think the season that Matthew Stafford has had, I'm not saying that Puka Nacua wouldn't have had the emergence that he has had in the last couple of years without Matthew Stafford, but it sure as heck helps. And I just have, and this is kind of like a homecoming for Matthew Stafford. His wife Kelly is from the Atlanta area. They went to the University of Georgia together. Like, so he's coming off of also a like 457-yard passing game against the Seattle Seahawks in which the team lost. So like, Matthew Stafford is playing with his hair on fire, and the person that he looks to more than anybody else is Puka. Which I'll save all the Puka stuff for you, Terrin.
Allow me to handle the Puka Nacua stuff.
There you go.
He has the second most receiving yards in the NFL entering Week 17 with 1,592. The only other player with more is who we already talked about, Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yep.
Yes.
There you go. Close enough.
And for what it's worth, JSN, which I much prefer to call him, had 92 yards against the Falcons 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So,
which almost all of them came in that second half.
Yeah.
True. Mm-hmm. Nacua is also catching the majority of his targets, 79% to be exact. Only Stephon Diggs has a better percentage, which is 82%. But he has been targeted 52 times fewer than Nacua.
It's interesting because before we started recording this, Will and I were actually watching some film of Puka and kind of all of their...
That's all we do is we stay grinding here on the Friday Five.
But it was something that we were talking about was kind of how he is catching a lot of these like deep balls, the explosives, the air yards, all of those kind of things.
Yeah, and he's being targeted a lot too.
Yep.
His 145 targets are tied with Saints wide receiver Chris Olave for second most in the league. Only Jamar Chase with the Bengals has more with 166, but Chase has only caught 66% of them. So this not only proves that Matthew Stafford is looking for Nacua, they're connecting. Mm-hmm. Stafford has thrown every pass for the Rams offense. I have to clarify offense because there was a special teams pass.
Nice.
He has thrown 519, which means 28% went to Nacua. Of his 341 completions, Nacua caught 33%. Those might not seem like large percentages, but they are considering Stafford has thrown to 12 different receivers.
Yeah.
Tori talked about how good Stafford is, including his touchdowns. Here are his other numbers. He's completed 66% of his passes for a league-high 279 yards per game. He's tied for the fewest interceptions among quarterbacks who have played in every game this season, with only 5. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's Puka has done so much for this offense this year. The accolades speak for themselves. And really, it's going to be like as much as we can talk about Mike Hughes, who won't be out there in that game, like in the cornerback depth for Atlanta, I think it's going to be kind of an all-hands-on-deck thing for this defense because of the way that he attacks those in-breaking routes like Divine Diablo and Jesse Bates, what they did against Trey McBride in Arizona. I think they're going to have to do kind of the exact same thing here against Puka.
You also talked about Xavier Watts earlier, too, like him needing to have a big game as well, kind of over the middle.
Like, they're going to hunt those matchups. Right. And that is what the Rams have done. Like, they get so creative. Mm-hmm. He's inserted kind of off of an inline tight end to run routes against linebackers. So everybody is going to have to be really watching number, 12?
12.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Keep all eyes on 12. He is the assignment because he's as dangerous with the ball in his hands as he is before he gets the ball in his hands. So everybody's got to be ready. But really, when you look at just how can Atlanta win this game, because you want to end the season on a high note and you've stacked 2 wins, keep on going. But this is as tough a task as any in the league. So really, given the kind of weapons that Atlanta has there, or that LA has there on their offense and just how well everybody's playing, I really think you want to keep them off of the field.
Yeah.
And you mentioned all of the kind of accolades that the defense has had for LA this season, but that's still the unit that maybe I would want to go up against if you're trying to win this game. So I think
you're going to have to,
yeah. So I think Atlanta's offense is where my mind goes to win this game for the Falcons, and that starts with keeping the Rams off of the field offensively. And when you look at their time of possession in wins this season, it's over 32 minutes. And part of that is when you're winning these games, you're running it later on, so like that naturally is going to tick up. But it also means that you're dictating the game and the tempo and the style.
Yeah.
And Atlanta is better equipped, I think, at slowing and bogging this thing down and really kind of making those possessions few and far between for Matthew Stafford. So what is going to be key for Atlanta in achieving that objective, Tori?
Yeah, I think stringing drives together, obviously you're staying on the field. Like I know this isn't rocket science, y'all. Like, if you're on the field, that means time's clicking. But, like, that starts with converting your third downs, which is something that we have talked about so much over the course of this 2025 season in majority not so good conversations, because the Falcons, that's been a problem area for them for much of the 2025 season. But I will say they did look better against the Cardinals this past Sunday out in Arizona when converting on those critical downs. A big reason why is a number of those critical down passes went to Kyle Pitts, and he caught them, converted them.
He played so well.
He did.
On those on third and fourth down.
Yeah, and it was a very obvious trust there between Kirk and Kyle in those moments that I think Kyle Pitts, going back to the conversation we were having earlier, earned the right to kind of get those looks because he's come up clutch and continued to in Arizona. So there's that piece of it, but then there's also the other piece of it where there were a lot of instances in Arizona where those were third and medium to third and long situations. So I fear that that puts a lot, that stresses your operation. If you can be better on first and second down with, again, going all the way back to the top about Bijan Robinson, if you can pick up 5 or 6 or 7 on first and second down and get you into more of third and 3, third and 2s, it's easier conversions. It's also running out the clock.
Yeah. And here is how those two are really connected, right? In their wins, the Falcons have converted 42% on third down. In their losses, it's 27%. So right there, when you're looking at kind of key identifiers between wins and losses, third down is maybe number one amongst them.
Yeah.
In fact, I found this so fascinating. They actually have higher red zone efficiency in their losses this season at 68% than in their wins, which is 61%.
Wow.
They're just not getting to the red zone enough in their losses because that third down number is so much lower.
Yep.
Right?
That makes sense.
So that is fascinating.
Yeah.
And when we talk about third down, again, it kind of comes back to first down. In their losses, their passing EPA, which is expected points allowed, right? But that is higher in their losses on first down, their pass EPA, than in wins, right? Which, again, part of that is because you're late, you're passing the ball a little bit more, so the defense could play prevent, you get some easier stuff. There's a lot in there, but by and large, that is going to be a stat that takes all of that into consideration, and you're still throwing the ball well early in your losses.
Yeah.
So the run is where it really kind of comes and the rubber hits the road. Is in your losses, you're at minus 1.29 expected points added in the run game on first down. In your wins, that's at a positive 1.58. So really it comes down to running the ball very well on first down, gets your offense in a rhythm, establishes and keeps it going. But it's not just about starting fast. I think also you need to lean on your run game late in games. And we saw an opportunity for the Falcons to do that against Arizona. They couldn't necessarily do that.
Right.
But against LA, you're going to have to.
You're going to have to. And that's the point is okay, so we saw it at the end of the Arizona game where they struggled to run the ball kind of in those latter minutes of the fourth quarter, and it allowed Arizona to kind of stick around.
They got 2 more possessions.
Right. Yeah, because you couldn't get that next first down. And I think that is something that you're not going to have the chance to do against the Rams, to your point. If you give them the ball, I think they're going to do – we've seen what they can do with the ball.
Yep.
We've seen what their backs can do. They're a good running team, too. I know everybody's talking about Puka and Matthew Stafford, as they should, but these backs we just watched for 15 minutes, these backs kind of explode through the line of scrimmage. They're good backs. And so there's that. But also another reason why I think – you can't be giving these multiple chances to the Rams offense is because the Rams have the best second half point margin of any team in the league. So they're playing well in the third quarter, and let's just look at the third quarter in general. The third quarter scoring margin, the Rams are second. The Falcons are 27th in the
crazy.
league. We have been talking a lot about that third quarter and the Falcons. What we saw the Falcons do in the third quarter against the Arizona Cardinals is a recipe for success. They had a long drive that sustained them through the first 7-8 minutes of the third quarter. They got a quick stop thereafter and then had the ball for the remainder of the third quarter. So
it's exactly how you want it.
That's exactly what you want. But the problem was when they got to the fourth quarter, it was those long drives were not sustained, and it allowed Arizona to stay in it. The Rams, they're going to get theirs. So you need to be able to outpace them in almost every single area.
And then honestly, like, even if you do all of that, I still kind of feel like this thing is going to come. Like, if you do all of that, it's still probably going to come down to like the last possession because that's how good the Rams are and what this league is built to do. I think the Falcons, when you look at the win against Tampa, when you look at the win against Arizona, you had some late big plays. C.J. Henderson, David Sills, Kyle Pitts has had some late big plays. Like, you're going to need somebody to step up in any phase and kind of get this win. So, Terrin, Tori and I have been kind of dominating the mics here. Like, what is your path to victory for Atlanta? What say you in all of this?
So y'all went shopping, you bought the present, you put it in a box, and you put the wrapping paper on it. I'm here to put the bow on top.
Okay.
Ooh. Do you tie your own bow, or do you get one of those tape them on?
Tape on.
I tape on. Who has time to do their own bows?
Do you tie your own bows?
You guys tell me you wear clip-on ties too? What is this? Have some authenticity in your lives.
I don't think I've ever actually worn a tie.
You gotta get somebody, you gotta put their finger in, and you're gonna hold it down and tie it all up.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the one with like a bunch of
well, sure,
round and round
whatever
and
your
round
flavor
and
of bow
round
is.
and round and round and round. Bundle bow.
The bundle.
The bundle bow. I'm putting a bundle bow that was bought and has sticker on it. Because you do need the best out of everyone to do everything that y'all are saying in order to beat the Rams. And to get the best, the bare minimum, you have to believe you can beat the almost said the wrong team. You need to believe you can beat the Rams.
You got so caught up on alliteration. I know. You're so in your zone.
Yeah. I almost said the Bears.
We got bows and bears and Battlestar Galactica.
Bengals in there maybe.
But the Falcons need to believe wholeheartedly that they can win this matchup. Like, yes, the numbers say what they are. Yes, the matchup is a little skewed on paper. Who cares? Like you say every week, any team can win on any given Sunday. You need to truly believe that at this point, because then you're going to get the best out of your players. And who knows? The Falcons do perform better in prime time. It's just an extra layer. And so thank you, Jared, for allowing me to emphasize my point. I got to make sure it's not upside down. A little bit more.
Believe. They are believing.
For our listeners, I am holding up a sign that says "Believe" from Ted Lasso.
So go check out our show on YouTube. And I think that's a good way to wrap this all up.
Whoa. The people need to know what's on my sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah, they do. Okay, so for,
Let me stand up real quick.
Well, let's unwrap this thing up.
Yeah. Hopefully you can see.
For those listening, it is Alfonso, also known as Carlton Banks.
Terrin has all of the things today. She's the one that brought in the Santa hats for us. She has her Carlton Banks sweatshirt. Can you do the dance?
No, I can't floss. Oh, the dance I can, but I'm not doing that on camera.
And then the Believe sign from Ted Lasso. She's ready.
I'm ready for Monday Night Football.
All right, well, let's hope the Falcons are, because, Lord knows we all are. So I hope everybody had a great Christmas, have a great rest of the holiday weekend. Get ready for an amazing game, hopefully on Monday night. Big-time matchup with the Los Angeles Rams coming to town. But for Tori McElhaney and Terrin Waack, I am Will McFadden. Thank you to our producer, Jared. Thank you for listening, and we will see you all next time.